There is a silent tightening of the global surveillance grid happening right now, and it is not targeting criminals, terrorists, or tax evaders. It is targeting you. If you hold citizenship in more than one country, if you carry two passports in your pocket, or if your children were born with the privilege of dual nationality, you are walking into a new era of enforcement that most people do not even know exists. We are now well into the year 2026, and with this year has come a wave of regulatory updates that have fundamentally altered the landscape of international travel and financial privacy. These are not theoretical policy discussions happening in a think tank. These are active, enforceable regulations being implemented right now at airports, border checkpoints, and financial institutions around the world. The era of casual dual citizenship is over. The era of strict compliance has begun. And if you are not prepared for this shift, the consequences can range from humiliating delays at the airport to significant financial penalties that could wipe out your savings. Welcome to Immigration News Desk, where we cut through the noise and bring you the raw, unfiltered truth about the systems that govern your freedom of movement. I am here today because there is a critical disconnect between what the laws say and what dual citizens actually know. The mainstream media is not covering this in the detail it deserves, often glossing over the intricate web of new reporting requirements in favor of sensationalist headlines. But the devil is in the details. What I am about to share with you could be the difference between a smooth border crossing and an interrogation in a windowless room. Before we go any deeper, I need you to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. If you value clear, expert analysis on the geopolitical developments that impact your life, you are in the right place. And if you know someone who holds dual citizenship, share this video with them immediately. They are likely walking into a minefield they don't even see. To understand why this is happening now, we have to look back at the history of how nations track their citizens. For most of the 20th century, dual citizenship was viewed with suspicion, a relic of a time when national loyalty was absolute. The United States, for example, used to require people to renounce all other allegiances during naturalization. But as globalization accelerated in the 1990s and 2000s, the world became more interconnected. Countries realized that allowing dual citizenship attracted talent, investment, and global influence. It became a status symbol, a plan B for the wealthy, and a way for immigrants to maintain ties to their heritage. But there was a hidden cost to this openness. As people moved freely, so did money. And as money moved, governments realized they were losing control over tax revenue and security data. This led to a gradual tightening of the screws, culminating in the regulatory overhaul we are seeing in 2026. The changes we are seeing today are driven by two main forces: the digitalization of identity and the global crackdown on financial opacity. In the past, your identity was a paper document, a passport, a birth certificate, a social security card. These were separate, siloed records. If you entered a country on one passport, the other country might not know you were there. That gap is closing. Governments are now linking databases through biometric sharing agreements. When you scan your face at an e-gate in London, that data point can be cross-referenced with immigration records in Washington or tax records in Ottawa. This is the new reality of the surveillance state, where your digital footprint is more important than the paper in your pocket. Let's start with the most immediate impact: the passport validity trap. This is a classic example of a bureaucratic tripwire that catches honest people every single day. You probably know that your passport needs to be valid to travel. But do you know the 6-month rule? Many countries now require your passport to be valid for at least 6 months beyond your intended date of departure. This is not a suggestion. It is a hard rule enforced by airlines who face massive fines if they let you board with a short passport. Now imagine you are a dual citizen. You have 2 passports. One expires in 3 months, the other in 5 years. You book your ticket with the expiring passport, because that's the one linked to your frequent flyer account. You get to the airport, and the system flags you. You try to switch to your other passport, but the name on the ticket doesn't match the second passport exactly. Maybe one has your middle name and the other doesn't. Suddenly, you are stuck in a loop of airline policy and immigration law. The flight leaves without you. This scenario is happening right now, and it stems from a lack of strategic planning regarding document maintenance. But the passport trap goes deeper. We are seeing a rise in name mismatch issues at automated border control kiosks. These machines use algorithms to match traveler data against watch lists and flight manifests. If you are a dual citizen, you might have slight variations in your name across different documents. In some cultures, women change their names after marriage. In others, they don't. Some countries use maternal surnames. Others use paternal ones. In the past, a human officer could look at you and say, "Okay, I see what happened here." But an algorithm has no discretion. If the data points don't align, it flags you for secondary screening. This means being pulled out of line, having your bag searched, and answering probing questions about your identity. It is intimidating, it is time-consuming, and it creates a permanent record of adverse interaction in the system. The solution is rigorous consistency. You must ensure that your name appears exactly the same on every document you own: passports, visas, global entry cards, airline profiles. If there is a discrepancy, you need to fix it now, before you travel. Now, let's pivot to the financial side of the equation, because this is where the stakes get incredibly high. The United States is one of the few countries in the world that taxes based on citizenship, not residency. This means that if you are a U.S. citizen, you owe U.S. taxes on your worldwide income, regardless of where you live. For dual citizens living abroad, this has always been a headache. But in 2026, the enforcement mechanisms have become draconian. We are talking about the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, or FATCA, on steroids. This law forces foreign banks to report the accounts of U.S. citizens directly to the IRS. If you have a bank account in your second country of citizenship, maybe a savings account you opened years ago and forgot about, or an inheritance you received, and you haven't reported it on your FBAR, Report of Foreign Bank and Financial Accounts, or Form 8938, you are in the danger zone. The penalties for non-compliance are severe. We are not talking about a slap on the wrist. We are talking about fines that can confiscate up to 50% of the account balance per year. And here is the kicker. Ignorance is not a defense. The IRS assumes that as a dual citizen, you should know these rules. In the past, many people flew under the radar because banks weren't strictly enforcing citizenship questions. Today, banks are terrified of being shut out of the U.S. financial system, so they are aggressively auditing their customer lists. If they find out you have U.S. citizenship, maybe because you were born there and left as a baby, they will report you. This creates a toxic citizenship problem where having a U.S. passport becomes a financial liability. We are seeing dual citizens being denied bank accounts or mortgages in their home countries simply because the compliance costs are too high for the local banks. This is financial exclusion based on nationality, and it is a growing crisis. But what if you didn't even know you were a U.S. citizen? This is the accidental American phenomenon. Thousands of people around the world are discovering that because they were born in a U.S. hospital while their parents were on vacation or working temporarily, they are U.S. citizens for life unless they formally renounce. And renunciation is not free. It costs thousands of dollars and involves a complex exit tax if your net worth is high enough. These individuals are waking up to nightmare scenarios where the IRS is demanding years of back taxes and penalties. This is why understanding the transmission of citizenship laws is crucial. If you are a parent, you need to know exactly what citizenship rights you are passing down to your children. Are you giving them a gift of global mobility, or are you saddling them with a lifetime of tax reporting obligations? You need to make informed decisions early, documenting everything so your children have choices, not burdens. This brings us to the sensitive topic of military service. In the geopolitical landscape of 2026, tensions are rising in various regions. Many countries still maintain mandatory conscription laws. If you hold citizenship in a country like South Korea, Israel, Turkey, or Singapore, you or your children may have a military obligation. Often, families assume that if they live in the U.S., they are exempt. This is a dangerous assumption. If your dual citizen son travels to visit grandparents in a country with conscription, he could be stopped at the border and barred from leaving until he completes his service. We have seen this happen. The U.S. government cannot simply intervene and get him out Because dual citizenship means you are fully subject to the laws of the country you are in. You cannot use your U.S. passport as a get-out-of-jail-free card when you are in your other country of citizenship. The strategy here is proactive engagement. You need to contact the consulate of the other country and get a formal written statement regarding your military status. Is there an exemption for non-residents? Is there an age limit? Do you need to pay a fee in lieu of service? Do not rely on hearsay or internet forums. Get it in writing. This is about managing risk. You do not want a family vacation to turn into an involuntary 2-year enlistment. It sounds extreme, but in a world where nations are becoming more protective of their sovereignty and security, these laws are being enforced with renewed vigor. Let's shift gears to the technology of border control itself. We are moving toward a world of contactless travel. This sounds convenient, walking through a corridor while cameras scan your face, but it creates a digital panopticon. These systems rely on accurate data. If your dual citizenship profile is fragmented, meaning one country has one set of biometrics and the other has a different set, the system flags an anomaly. This is why we advise dual citizens to be consistent in which passport they use for which leg of the trip. A common mistake is entering a country on one passport and trying to leave on another. This breaks the entry-exit chain in the database. The system sees an entry with no exit and an exit with no entry. This raises red flags for overstaying or illegal entry. The rule of thumb is, use the passport of the country you are entering if you are a citizen. Otherwise, be consistent with the passport you use to book the ticket. And always, always declare your dual citizenship if asked. Hiding a second passport can be seen as deception, which is grounds for denying entry. We also need to talk about the visa waiver traps. For example, Europe's new ETIAS system and the UK's ETA system are pre-travel authorizations. If you are a US citizen, you need to apply for these before you fly. But what if you are also a citizen of a European country? You don't need an ETIAS to enter Europe if you have a European passport. However, the airline needs to know which document you are traveling on. If you book the ticket with your US passport, the airline system will demand an ETIAS. If you don't have one because you plan to use your European ID upon arrival, you won't be allowed to board. You have to match the document to the digital requirement. This requires a level of logistical coordination that most travelers are not used to. You have to think like a travel agent and a lawyer simultaneously. There is another layer to this, the social credit aspect of immigration. We are seeing countries deny entry based on social media activity or past minor infractions that are shared across borders. With dual citizenship, you have two profiles that can be scrutinized. If you have a DUI in the US, Canada knows about it instantly and can deny you entry, even if you are a dual citizen of a third country that doesn't care. The sharing of criminal and conduct data is near instantaneous among allies like the Five Eyes nations: US, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. You need to assume that anything known by one government is known by the others. This makes forum shopping for a lenient jurisdiction impossible. You must keep your record clean everywhere. Now let's address the parents watching this. If you have children with dual citizenship, you have a fiduciary duty to secure their documentation. We see so many cases where parents delay getting the second passport or the consular report of birth abroad because it's too much paperwork. Then, when the child turns 18 and wants to study abroad or work internationally, they are stuck in a bureaucratic nightmare trying to prove their status with 20-year-old documents that may be lost or invalid. Documentation is an asset. It is as valuable as a savings bond. By securing your child's proof of citizenship now, you are giving them options for the future. Options to live, work, and travel in a world that is becoming increasingly walled off. Do not let laziness today limit their freedom tomorrow. The overarching theme here is that the world of open borders is closing. We are entering a period of gated globalization. Dual citizenship is your key to the gate, but only if the key is cut correctly. If the key is bent or rusty, meaning your documents are messy or your reporting is incomplete, the gate will not open. You have to treat your citizenship portfolio with the same care you treat your investment portfolio. It requires maintenance, updates, and strategic planning. So, what is the action plan? First, audit your documents. Check every expiration date, every name spelling, every biographic detail. Second, audit your finances. Do you have foreign accounts? Have you reported them? If not, speak to a cross-border tax specialist immediately. Third, check the military obligations for every country of citizenship in your family. Get the waivers if you need them. Fourth, educate yourself on the entry-exit rules for your specific combination of passports. Do not guess. Know the rules before you get to the airport. At Immigration News Desk, we are committed to keeping you ahead of these changes. We monitor the Federal Register, the State Department bulletins, and the international treaty updates so you don't have to. But we need you to be part of this conversation. This is not a passive activity. You need to take ownership of your status. The government is not going to send you a reminder card telling you that the rules have changed. They will simply enforce the new rules when you least expect it. We are seeing a trend where governments are using soft power to force compliance, making life difficult for those who don't follow the rules rather than outright arresting them. It is death by 1,000 cuts. A frozen bank account here, a missed flight there, a denied renewal application. You want to avoid being the low-hanging fruit. You want to be the traveler who breezes through because your paperwork is impeccable. If this deep dive analysis has opened your eyes to the complexities of the new system, then I have done my job. But your job is just beginning. Take the next hour to review your family's status, have the difficult conversations about taxes and military service, make the appointments to renew the passports. Do not wait for a crisis to act. Thank you for trusting Immigration News Desk with your time. We know the world is getting more complicated, but we are here to help you navigate it. If you found this video valuable, please like, subscribe, and share it. The algorithm needs to know that this serious, factual content matters to you. Stay safe, stay compliant, and keep your options open. We will see you in the next briefing.